Hello, YouTube fans.
Hello there.
This is Sleeky Ratings doing the top 11 Star Wars films. Clearly, you know what side I'm on. Mic check, mic check, mic check. Sorry about that, guys. I just had to be funny with it. Yes, I do have, in fact, a lightsaber replica back in the day when they made them, and you were able to get them for like $100. Mine is obviously Darth Vader's because he's the best. Anyway, so we're gonna, like I just said earlier, ranking and rating the Star Wars films. This has been a long time in the making as well. Clearly I got my Jedi hat on, which how can I be a Jedi and be a Sith? Well, I'll tell you how, because Anakin Skywalker did it. That's how. So if he could do it, why can't I? Let's just get right into this, okay? The 11th, I'm putting The Rise of Skywalker. Pro, it finishes the series, if you will, but so many cons with it. One, Rey is not Skywalker. Let's just get that clear right now, okay? And it kind of annoyed me that that card was pulled because, no, you're not a Skywalker. No, you're nothing. No offense, Rey. Sorry, Disney. No. The Emperor didn't die, or he's a spirit, whatever. I don't care. That actually made a lot of us fans ticked off because if we get that in Return of the Jedi, he gets tossed, he gets yeeted off a balcony. That should have been the end of that. The fact that they bring his spirit back, whatever they try to make it out to be, no, that's stupid, dude. That defeats the whole point of Anakin being the chosen one. And I'll get into more of that details later. By the way, spoiler alerts ahead. So I clarify that. Whoops, I already slipped some stuff out. Rise Skywalker, I'm giving that 4 out of 10. Not great at all. I mean, yes, I see it, of course, because it's part of the Star Wars thing and you have to, but it's not that great. Let's get into number 10, The Last Jedi. The Pro, Luke Skywalker's in this. He also dies in this. I mean, that's the one thing it had going for it. When Luke Skywalker tosses the lightsaber over the edge, that was kind of funny. But regardless, he's in it. So, like, that was the pro I put because at least we get Luke Skywalker. The con for Last Jedi, guys, is that they put so much detail into it. They literally put, like, 2 movies into one. So you have Kylo fighting Luke Skywalker, and Luke Skywalker dies, but he doesn't die from Kylo. Like, let's be honest here, that the guy's mid. He dies because like of the spirit and like him using all the force power he has, all that kind of stuff. But anyway, I'm not gonna get into that. It sucks that Luke's died. Maybe he needed to, but point is, they literally like shove 2 movies into one because Kylo kills Luke. Then he's like, "Yeah, right, I'll fight along you and take out the Supreme Leader." Like what? Disney has this thing where they sometimes shove too much into one. Like I don't know if they're doing it for the audience. I don't know if they're doing it because they're excited or they're just trying to pump out much content as they can for the best bang for their buck, if you will. They bought Marvel's, bunch of flops. They bought Star Wars, so they bought Star Wars first, a bunch of flops, and they bought Marvel's, a bunch of flops. Like I don't know what Disney's doing, bro, but they need to go back to the drawing board because they're messing all this up. I gave that 4.5 out of 10. I'm just gonna be honest, guys. These Disney movies, I'm not huge fans of, and there's a couple I will say, but I'll get into that. Number 9, The Force Awakens. Another Disney film. The Pro, it does amazing in the box office because it comes back, right? Like, you gotta think of it this way. They made standalone films for Star Wars, but The Force Awakens was the first one to come back after, The Return of the Jedi, all that stuff. They finally like, hey, let's make another Star Wars. At this point, Disney owns it. So, hey, let's bring back Force Awakens. Okay, so I could see why that would boom in the box office and all that stuff because Star Wars has been gone since Revenge of the Sith. Technically speaking, Revenge of the Sith, but Return of the Jedi was the last Star Wars. I'll get into that in a minute. But anyway, they bring Star Wars back. So that's the pro to it. Everyone was excited to get Star Wars back after so long of not having Star Wars. The con? I'm going to lose my mind. You know what my con is? You have Anakin, Obi-Wan, Qui-Gon. You have all these people who literally have to train most of their lives, if not all, with lightsabers to be professionals at it. Anakin just didn't wake up one day and he's like, you know what, I could take on Obi-Wan in Revenge of the Sith. No, he trained. He fought Count Dooku. He fought Grievous. Like the Emperor. Like he fought all these people. But yet, we have a girl named Rey right off the rip can fight with a lightsaber decently. Like, okay, I get it. You want to show a little cute montage of her training, whatever. You can't sit and tell me she trained so long like Anakin, Obi-Wan, and all of them to the point where she can fight like them. Like, that's crazy. And I guess they kind of like show it in here like she's an amateur with it, like the way she falls or the way she's fighting, the style she's fighting. It's not really like set in stone what kind of style she is fighting. But still though, like, dude, some of these moves she did was actually crazy. Like, she shouldn't be able to use the Force. She shouldn't be able to fight the way she did fighting Kylo. Same with Kylo. Both of them shouldn't be fighting the way they are because they barely like touched it. I don't know. Like, Kylo has a better stance because it shows back when he used to train with Luke Skywalker, fine. But Rey, no business being there how she is with the lightsaber. And that was my big thing with The Force Awakens. I'm like, who's this girl picking up a lightsaber and being able to fight? Like, no, like, stop it. Knock it off. Another one, Solo dies in this. Now, maybe they wanted the shock and awe factor because Star Wars hasn't been made for a while, and they're like, you know what, we're bringing it back. We got to do something crazy. All right, like, I don't know if they're trying to pull Game of Thrones or something, but Solo dies in this. They throw some big event like that in there, kills Solo, Solo dies off. I don't know. I put that as a con because they could have executed that way better, but they didn't. We get that in A New Hope with Obi-Wan and Darth Vader. I get that, but that was basically the finale. Like, that was, at this point, that was the pinnacle in this whole Star Wars universe. This, borderline, like, yeah, it picks up, but it's borderline brand new series. It's made by different people, made by a Disney crew. Like, just do something your own. Like, I don't know, they try to do too much, and I didn't like that. I gave it a 4.5 out of 10. It's calling how I see it. 8th, I'll give to Rogue One. The pro, obviously I'm going to say it. It might be cliche for me to say it. I don't care. The iconic Darth Vader scene. But the con, though, because Rogue One is a separate film, there's 2 separate films Disney made. They made Rogue One and they made Solo. Those are 2 separate entities, if you will, 2 separate from the lineage, the line of Star Wars. Are they connected to it? Sure, but they're still technically separate. So, because of that, the con is the characters aren't developed enough. And they you know what I mean? It's a standalone film. So they're not going to be developed enough. That was a big con to it. I gave it a 6 out of 10 because it's at least one of the best Disney ones they came out with, without a doubt. That Darth Vader scene alone was awesome, but it did lack Darth Vader scenes because that's not what it was about. 7? I'm going to give it to A New Hope. Now, hear me out. I know I put New Hope. It seems like I put New Hope kind of low. But you got to look at all the films we have, at least in the Star Wars lineage. We just kind of went through the Disney 3. They're trash at the bottom. Fine. Now we're getting into the meat and potatoes, if you will. New Hope, at the end of the day, out of the OG 6, if you will, I mean, I guess including the 2 standalones, but out of the OG 6, I put that at the bottom. The pro is, it starts the series. It starts, technically speaking, it starts the Star Wars universe. But the other 3, Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, Revenge of the Sith, they are the true starting of the movie. But George Lucas made it like A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi. They're the first 3 that came out. Now, granted, whether or not you watch it however you want to, it's up to you. George Lucas, mentioned about the ways to watch it. The cool part is that if you watch the OG 3 that came out, like A New Hope being the first one, you'll understand why the characters become they are after watching that than watching the newer 3. Not the Disney 3, the newer 3. The problem with that is, too, it's been out for so long, people already know who's who. Who's Darth Vader underneath the mask? Anakin Skywalker. Like, everyone kind of knows that stuff. That's the problem. When it originally came out, it made sense. Because people didn't know who Darth Vader was. People didn't know what happened to Obi-Wan. Doom Man gets offed in A New Hope. Like, no one understands that stuff. But then when they made the other 3, you understand their character builds and stuff. So you watch it anyway. A New Hope, it starts a series. We meet Vader, Darth Vader. We meet Obi-Wan. We meet Luke Skywalker when he was young. We meet all these people. The con, low-key, guys, it is kind of slow. Like, the one con I said about watching the way I suggested from Phantom Menace to Return of the Jedi is by doing that, you're going to get I'll be honest, you're going to get all the fun action out of the way from the rip, and the last 3, you're just like, dude, this just drags. It does. So, like, I'm not saying they're bad because they drag. I'm just saying they're older films, so the CGI is not the same. The animation is not the same. The fighting style is not the same. It's not as crazy as you get in some of the other movies. It's a little bit slower. The battle scenes are cool in A New Hope, but it's just slower. It's just true, though. It's still an iconic film, so I gave it a 7 out of 10. Like, I can't give it below a 5 because it's that iconic. And I might get some hate comments in my video, but that's beside the point. Number 6, Solo. I know, I can't believe I put a Disney film above A New Hope. But hear me out. Solo was the other standalone film Disney did. Solo, obviously, as the name suggests, focuses on Han Solo and Chewbacca. He's an underrated character. But I kind of like it because whenever you meet him in A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, you really don't understand a backstory behind him. You just kind of meet him. He's like a side character that you pick up along the way in Fallout, and you're like, oh yeah, you want to travel with me? Yeah, sure. That's how you meet him. It's really cool how you get to see how he becomes who he is. How does he get the Millennium Falcon? How does Chewbacca and him become a thing? Like, it's really cool. And honestly, there's a bunch of cool characters in there. The con I gave to Solo, it's kind of left on a cliffhanger almost, because some of his people in crime with, they betray him. and it kind of just leaves it like that. I would love to have another Solo film, but I don't know if they would ever do that because it's supposed like kind of like squeezed into the Star Wars lineage, if you will, but it's a standalone film. It'd have been cool to see another one. But regardless, I gave 7.5 out of 10 for Solo because it builds up his character that we just kind of meet in the franchise, and a lot of people love him. He's cool in the video game, but no one really understands his backstory. Like I said, he's just a side character you pick up like you do in Fallout. Let's go number 5, Attack of the Clones. Pro is it builds Anakin Skywalker up. He's like a teenager basically at this point, right? You get to meet Count Dooku. You meet like you kind of meet Mace Windu and the other ones and Yoda and all that stuff, but you really like get into it with them. You see Anakin start to understand and start to develop his dark sides and how the Jedi's are starting to get concerned about him developing this dark side. Like, is he going to be good? Is he going to be a Jedi? Is he going to be a Sith? That kind of thing. You meet Jango Fett at the end, especially with Jango, Mace Windu, all that stuff in the last battle. Count Dooku, Anakin, and Obi-Wan fight each other. Well, Anakin and Obi-Wan fight Count Dooku. Anakin loses an arm in that. Pretty crazy stuff. But the con is, there's plot meaning, don't get me wrong, but I feel like it's borderline like a filler movie. Because in most Star Wars films, you have like a big event. And I'm not saying you don't have a big event in this. Jango Fett gets beheaded. You have Anakin lose an arm. But like, I don't know, I feel like it's borderline like a filler. Like, it was a great film, don't get me wrong, but was it out of the best out of like the OG 6? Or the OG 3 and the newer 6? No. It's probably near the bottom, like in my mind, with A New Hope. Because it's so good, but it's not that, like, let's lean forward type thing. So I gave that one a 7.5 out of 10 as well. Number 4, Empire Strikes Back. Now we're getting good. Han Solo gets frozen. Vader appears to have the upper hand when he finally fights Luke. Luke loses a hand. We get the famous line, "I am your father." Overall, fantastic film. I kind of said as a con, I had to try to come up with a con. The action scenes are pretty good, but the other parts are very slow. Just developing and where they go, and then Han Solo gets captured and he gets frozen, all this stuff. Some of that stuff's kind of slow. But Empire Strikes Back is a good film. Not even going to deny that. That's why it's in the top 5, without a doubt. I gave that an 8 out of 10. Easy. Now we're getting to the top 3. We're getting to the bee's knees here, folks. Phantom Menace. Now, controversy behind that, I know. Because if you ask people, Star Wars fans, if they like Phantom Menace, it's either they did or they didn't, straight up. Like, there's no middle ground. I remember getting to debates about people saying, like, no, Phantom Menace was stupid. Jar Jar Binks was the worst thing ever. Okay, fair. But you're forgetting about the other part that made it fantastic. All right, Phantom Menace. It truly starts the Star Wars universe, technically speaking. Like, it's Anakin's a kid. Obi-Wan's still with Qui-Gon. It truly starts the series, right? Jar Jar Binks, I go back and forth. They say he's a pro, but he's a con. Because pro, he's kind of funny, but a con is, a big complaint people have is that he makes too many jokes. He's too much of a silly goofball for this kind of stuff. He messes everything up. He's just a liability aspect. So I get that. A big pro to this, you get the dual lightsaber fight. You get Obi-Wan with Qui-Gon fighting Darth Maul. And Darth Maul has a famous... And guess what? That is an amazing, amazing song. They use Duel of the Fates. I love that song. They use that. I mean, some of the music they use in there. I mean, Duel of the Fates alone, I would argue, is probably the best song out of this whole soundtrack. One of the best, let me rephrase. Because the intro for Star Wars is pretty iconic as well. But Duel of the Fates, everyone knows that song if you know Star Wars. That one I gave 8 out of 10. Easy. Without a doubt. Number 2, Return of the Jedi. It concludes the series, the 6 of them. New ones are stupid. Don't worry about them. It concludes the series of the 6. This is where the true conclusion lies. And this is what I had so much beef with the Rise of Skywalker. You get the final fight where Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker fight. Father and son fight. And then there's a switch that's flipped and Darth Vader becomes like Anakin again and he tosses the Emperor over the balcony like I mentioned earlier and he's supposed to die. That's why it's a big pro. It finally reveals what a lot of people were begging because a lot of people were like, oh, Luke Skywalker's the chosen one. No, Anakin's the chosen one. Darth Vader technically is the chosen one. It is said that the chosen one is supposed to bring balance to the Force by taking out the Sith and just bring balance to peace to the whole Force. That is what Darth Vader does. He's bad guy, he's good guy, becomes bad guy, yeets Emperor Palpatine over the railing, good guy again, and dies. And now there's balance, there's peace. So when they brought him back in Rise of Skywalker, that's what made me so mad, because it defeated the whole purpose of everyone talking about when Anakin was a kid in like Phantom Menace. He's the chosen one. He's the chosen one. Like Qui-Gon saw it. He's the chosen one. But then they're like, no, he's the Sith now. And they're like, Luke's the chosen one. But then Darth Vader comes back and does his thing. It's a great, great movie. The con, there's a lot of plot lines in it. Obviously, you gotta pay attention, because out of the 3 OG films, if you will, this one like does have a lot of good actions in it, but it impedes the final fight, which kind of sucks. Final fight's between Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker. They are fighting. Emperor's watching it, just laughing, enjoying himself. But between that, you're seeing the outside fighting on the outside the Death Star and their ships and all that stuff, and they're going back and forth. Just stick to the final fight, guys. I mean, that was such an iconic moment. So to take a little bit away from that, it just draws confusion. That's all. I give that an 8.5 out of 10. The best one ever. The best one ever. Without a doubt. Number 1 is Revenge of the Sith. It's obviously because he killed younglings.
What did he say?
Whoa, I'm just kidding. That is not a pro. That's crazy. I can't believe he did that. Anyway, you guys know what I'm going to say.
I've been looking forward to this.
That epic final fight. You know, watching behind the scenes and them two talk about it in like real life, the final fight between Anakin and Obi-Wan when they fight each other, that choreograph was perfect. Like, I don't think there's too many other fights like that where they can match up to that. Now, like guns and stuff like that between shooting people are different. I get that. But this choreographed style they did was amazing. Hands down, easily hands down the best fight in the whole Star Wars universe. Easily. And I would argue this fight was at least in the discussion for some of the top spot for 2 people fighting overall, because the choreograph was just perfect. How long it took, how like just boom, 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 you know, amazing stuff. That honestly was a huge pro to that film. But then also the plot thickens, obviously. Anakin, he's good. You see him get rejected left and right from Mace Windu, from Obi-Wan, from Yoda, and he just eventually goes to the dark side because Emperor Palpatine's taking him underneath his wing. He's like, dude, you know the dark side, like, basically can just do all the stuff that they can, but better. You know what I'm saying, man? Yeah, come over here. Oh, wow, that sounds pretty good. That's basically what happened, right? So you see how it gets darker and darker, and Anakin becomes Darth Vader as he does. That happens in that film. However, con is it's very fast-paced because of that. Some people say, like, they went so fast-paced that they squished everything in this single film. I thought it kind of turned out perfect because of doing that, because really you don't need to have 2 films on how he becomes Darth Vader and becomes the dark side. I get it. Like, you want to show him like slowly building up the resentment, the emotions and stuff that you get from being on the dark side. Overall, like, I think they executed it flawlessly. Now, if they would have gone a little bit off the beaten path, yeah, I get that. That would have ruined the whole film. But like the way they started in the beginning, and then how he slowly has these bad dreams about Padme. Then Palpatine said he can help. Anakin's like, hey, Palpatine's the Sith Lord. Then Mace Windu's like, no, you can't help. Stay over here. Like, why would you do that? I have no idea, because that just forced him to go help Palpatine. All that stuff. I gave that a 9 out of 10. That is easily the best film in the whole series, without doubt. Overall, Star Wars is one of the best franchises ever in movie history. Like, I would argue it's at least in the top discussion, without doubt. And it's better than Star Trek. I'm just being real, folks. Like, Star Trek, it's not bad. Star Wars is just better. I am on the Star Wars side of that fight. Star Wars, 9 out of 10, without a doubt. Comment down below whether or not you agree or disagree with this ranking. Comment down below if you guys have any ideas that you want me to do, because like this comment right here, they're the ones who provide me the idea about doing the Star Wars franchise. So leave a comment down below and you might be featured in the next video. Hit that subscribe button and bell to be notified about future videos coming out. I'm out, guys. See ya.